Gator, I think the Detroit Lions should sign Daniel Jones. I think the Detroit Lions are about the business this year of trying to win the Super Bowl. And Daniel Jones has become a punching bag. He's become a punchline. He's become a joke. Jordan Schultz, the Fox insider, said there's significant interest in Daniel Jones out there once he clears waivers. He expected the Ravens, Vikings, Lions, 49ers, and Dolphins to all pursue him. According to Adam Schefter, he said look for Baltimore and Minnesota to go after him. Daniel Jones would come to Detroit and be a veteran backup. And it comes down to the answer to this question. If the Lions have to win a home playoff game against Atlanta on a Sunday, who would you rather have starting at quarterback? Daniel Jones or Hendon Hooker? And based upon the information available to us, it would be Daniel Jones for me. And I was reading Kevin O'Connell's comments about how much they really liked Daniel Jones when he was coming out, and he visited and he met with teams. And for the Lions, it would probably come down to that. How much familiarity do they have with him as a person? Would he fit? But I would take a veteran quarterback who started 2 playoff games and went 24 for 35 and threw for over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns and no picks on the road and beat a 13-4 Minnesota team versus a guy who has 33 career snaps and 9 pass attempts. And I know that Daniel Jones is a punchline. I know that Daniel Jones has been beat up publicly, but think about that. If you had to win a playoff game on a Sunday and your choices were an extraordinarily inexperienced Hendon Hooker or Daniel Jones, who's more likely to give you that win? And to me, the answer would be Daniel Jones. To the Lions, the answer might be different. And I've experienced this because, I've been to Michigan practice and seen stuff at practice that makes their decisions on the field seem more obvious. In Lions practice, they might, all caps, love what they're seeing from Hendon Hooker. Now, the question you'd come up with is just because he did it in practice doesn't mean he can do it in the games. But they might have a different opinion of Hendon Hooker than what we have, because to us, to me at least, Hendon Hooker is a complete and total unknown at this juncture. I like him as a prospect. I think there's reason to be moderately encouraged, but it's such very, very little. So anyway, I'd pursue Daniel Jones, and I'd somewhat aggressively pursue Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I would not even come close to him. I would avoid him at all costs. I think he's proven what he is. He's a bad quarterback in the NFL, period. And great, he's got 2 games of playoff experience that he had, and split those games. He had the one nice game against the Vikings, but he still is what he is. He's a career 84 rated quarterback. That's terrible in today's NFL. I would rather have the guy who has been here for almost 2 seasons now as an apprentice, who knows the offense at this point, who's actually worked with these players, than to bring in somebody completely new who wasn't able to run the offense that he was in prior. So why would I want to bring him in here just because he's a veteran? And it's not good enough for me. If he was a good veteran, I'd consider it, but he's not. He's a bad player, and I don't want him anywhere near this team.
I think a player like Daniel Jones would look a lot different behind the Detroit Lions offensive line. I think a player like Daniel Jones would look a lot different throwing to Lions receivers. I think a player like Daniel Jones would look a lot different with this Lions offensive coordinator and rushing attack. Now, his skill set, does it match up with what Ben Johnson would actually covet? I'm not sure about that. But again, it doesn't come back to what he's been. To me, it's who gives you a better shot to win if in an emergency break glass situation. And if you bring Daniel Jones in now, that emergency break glass situation is the postseason.
Yeah, no, again, for me, it's Hooker because I understand what you're saying, but I want the guy who's actually worked with this offense. And Hooker has worked with this offense. And the experience, he wasn't a ton that he got in the preseason, but you saw a little bit that you liked in the preseason. He gets thrown into the situation at the end of the game, at the end of a laugher. He doesn't look out of place, looks comfortable back there. I got it. It's in mop-up time. I don't care. I think he's got the talent. I think he's got confidence, and I'd rather see him run this ship than to see Daniel Jones do it. Daniel Jones had the best running back in football, and they couldn't do anything. He's had one season where he threw for 3,200 yards in that playoff year where they were 9-6-1. He threw for 3,200 yards and only 15 touchdown passes. He's not a good quarterback.
Well, to say he couldn't do anything is, he led a team to the playoffs and won a playoff game, which is more than Hendon Hooker has. But 248-539-9797.